Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the 7.5 Arms podcast. My name is Charlie.
I am Mo.
I'm Max.
I'm Braden.
And I'm Anthony.
Today, we are joined by a friend of ours, our special guest, Anthony. He just introduced himself. And before we get into the topic of this podcast, just want to address the hiatus that we took a bit for those of you that care. We're not stopping the podcast. We're not stopping the channel. We had a bit of a creative slump. Some times didn't mesh together. We were also dealing with some personal issues, but...
And my birthday was recently.
Yes.
Was recently? That was good, Grant.
Happy birthday, Mo.
Happy belated birthday to Mo. He is now...
Birthday happy.
He is now a year older than he was before.
He's a big boy now.
But to get into the topic of the podcast, we're all gamers here. We love to game.
Oh, no.
People say it's a hobby, but I say it's a lifestyle. And today,
familiar.
Today we're discussing, just our favorite games, game series. Just saying why, because we're all gamers.
I'll make it my goal to not talk about Sonic too much. But with Anthony being here, I think he has the honor of speaking first.
Hey, so I'm one of those people that is crazy enough to sit down and actually bang out a list of their favorite games. I believe that it's kind of cool or important or whatever to just kind of have a list of what you like, because so much of a person can be gathered off of what they like. And I have it on hand. I'd rustle papers, but it's digital, so you're just gonna have to pretend like I'm pulling it up.
Hold on, I got you.
So, tied for number 5, there's 2 games. Psychonauts, which...
Don't know what that is.
Oh,
You've
good.
never
I'll
played
just stop here and start talking about it then.
Oh, damn.
So, it's, last summer, I was putting together a PC, right? And this is my first gaming PC. And a good friend of mine's helping me. It was a pretty painful experience. I specifically decided to go and order the cheapest parts, so we had a bunch of, weird connections, but that's not what I'm here to talk about. He gave me a list of games to, start out with as a recommendation. One of them was Psychonauts. And I'm like, oh, I've never heard of this game. What's it about? So I look at the Steam page. It's like $2. Oh, all right, I'll try it out. And I go into it having no idea what's going to happen. And it starts with this psychic kid named Raz, which is short for Rasputin. And he's actually running away from the circus to go to this summer camp full of psychic kids so that he can be basically government agents called the Psychonauts, which is where the title comes from. And of course, it wouldn't be a video game if some intrigue and mystery didn't happen. So you got plenty of that, but probably the most interesting mechanic is that all of the levels take place inside the minds of the characters. So you'll have a lot of really neat touches. For instance, there's one that takes place inside of the mind of a conspiracy theorist. And in his mind, it's a normal city street, but then you have all these people in trench coats walking around, and they get cameras popping out of mailboxes, and then the street turns off into nothingness or just spirals out of its way. It's really cool stuff. It also helps it was written by Tim Schafer, who is a fantastic comedic writer, and it's getting a sequel this year, which I have been waiting for eagerly ever since I finished the first game. I would highly recommend it, even though the platforming is a bit clunky nowadays, just for its writing alone.
What type of game isn't it? Because I've heard of it and I've seen a bit of gameplay. Is it like a collectathon, like Banjo-Kazooie-esque or like Mario 64?
It's kind of like a collectathon. There's definitely many, many things to collect. Although that's one of my least favorite parts of the game, because some of the collectibles, which are called figments, are put in completely unfair places.
Would it be more comparable to Hat in Time?
Imagine Hat in Time, but instead of all the skill points going into platforming, I went into writing. And there's no timepiece objective. It's just start the level, get to the end.
Okay. Yeah. And then what's your other game in your number 5 spot?
Half-Life 2 and its expansions. I don't get why people say the first one is better. I had a much more enjoyable time with Half-Life 2.
See, I would agree with you. I actually have a lot of thoughts on the Half-Life series in general. I think I'm planning on making that my own video for my own channel, so I'll leave my discussion about that very short. But
Ooh.
one of the things is I thought that one of my complaints that I think Half-Life got better than Half-Life 2 is I think how much health that you have in any given situation and how much health you can receive. I feel like in Half-Life 2, the health is it's a lot more common to find. So in almost every in every situation, almost like any spot, it will have at least a health pack that gets your health up. And I feel the enemies are a bit more difficult in Half-Life 2, but I feel like in Half-Life 1 when you found health packs or when you found anything that increases your suit battery, like it was sort of a relief. It was downtime rather than just normal. You're playing through the game and you just get health by killing people.
I would agree with that, except for the fact that when I played Half-Life, like the original, it was just kind of unfun at points because my HP would be so low from a lack of health pickups. I'd just run into the area and die over and over again.
Yeah,
I had to save scum a lot.
The
second. Oh, you go first.
Yeah, no, there's definitely a bit of a learning curve when you start doing, not a learning curve, but there's definitely difficulty spikes in some areas than others.
And some areas are just plain unfun. Like,
yeah.
What's the one where
Are you talking
I can't remember it now.
One of the areas that I find unfun is those like snake creatures that bang on the platforms.
Oh yeah, Blast Pit.
Yeah, the Blast Pit.
Or I think it's Power Up actually. That was one of my favorite parts of the game, even though it was just.
I just thought that enemy was annoying.
Spots. I had a lot of fun with that enemy. What was annoying for me was surface tension. Because I really didn't like the minefield part where you would just randomly shoot the floor.
Hate that one.
Or parkour off the rocks, but then the geometry was weird, so you'd slip off and blow up.
Well, and I also think that because the original Half-Life, when they were first creating it, they like scheduled it for 1997, but it got pushed back to 1998, and they remade the entire game. But you could tell that that Zen was kind of rushed.
I actually liked Zen. Like the
Zen's
Factory.
a fine place, but I feel like it's not as memorable as just the Black Mesa complex itself. I feel like that's what the Half-Life 1 remake Black Mesa. You guys should check it out as well. Did right. They definitely encapsulated the feel of Zen a lot nicer, and they made it feel like this has been an explored world before, and that scientists were testing with it. They definitely got more atmospheric points from me than the original Half-Life 1.
See, for me, like the highlight of Zen was that last area before you fight the Nihilanth, the alien factory.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Because I felt like I was just in a classic Doom level, and it was so cool.
Yeah, definitely. It was because wasn't Half-Life? It was like a mixture of Doom, like a shoot 'em up, and then Stephen King's The Mist.
Well, based off of everything I've read, the whole thing that made it super awesome and special back in the day was that you had a lot of Dooms, you had a lot of Wolfensteins, you didn't have a lot of story. And Half-Life not only innovated with the lack of cutscenes, but there was like an actual narrative. Gordon Freeman is unironically one of my favorite video game characters, just because he's a perfect blank slate. That's how good the writing is.
Because you decide Gordon Freeman's personality. It's that, is he someone who went through the entire Black Mesa complex killing all the scientists and guards, or was he genuinely trying to help? You get to decide his entire, backstory, or at least his experiences through some of his most chaotic moments.
Yeah, even if they messed up a bit with 2, it didn't bother me that much, because I was the guy that always is like, oh, come on, why you gotta shoot the scientist? He's just trying to survive. Or, that kind of train of thought. I don't really like killing the staff that much. It helps that I love the Kleiner designs, especially. I just think it's hilarious.
We weren't asked to make a top 5, so this isn't like all of our top 5 lists. So
no, I'm just here to. I'm just outdoing all of you right now. You guys should be scared.
But we all have. I'm sure we all have multiple favorite games. I think.
Yes, definitely.
Me and DJ have been talking a lot, so I'll give it to either Mo, Max, or Braden.
I guess I'll take it from here. Well, you guys hear about it in like every pod, like ever. Sonic the Hedgehog, favorite game series of all time. Up until like, I don't know when. I know Forces is a terrible game in my opinion, but even 06 was one of my favorites. People are gonna like be terribly mad at me for that, but 06 is definitely one of my favorites, along with Unleashed. Unleashed is probably my all-time favorite. I think Mo can agree with that.
Yeah, for sure. So, like, my love for Sonic the Hedgehog, I think we touched on this in another pod, but I've been a fan kind of since I was a kid, and like even now I have like crazy nostalgia, and like my nostalgia was crazy enough that recently I actually played Sonic Unleashed, which was a game that came out on the PS3, and I played it recently, and I was thinking that maybe I enjoyed this game before and I'm not gonna like it now, and I played it again and I absolutely loved it. It's still a great game in my opinion, and again, just from me liking it as a kid and me liking it now, I think it might be my all-time favorite game too.
Yeah, another thing about Sonic, even though like my all-time favorite, like up there is Sonic Unleashed, I think Sonic Heroes even beats that, and I touched on that in I think it was the second episode with nostalgia and why I like it. So if you guys want to go check that out if you haven't already.
I can definitely relate to that whole personal connection thing.
Yeah.
I've been listening to these podcasts.
And I don't know, definitely Sonic is one of my favorites, but along with that is Smash Bros. I started in Smash 4, and Max here kind of taught me how to play the game, because I was a big casual, and he brought me into playing Mario. But from then on, I've been really into the series, and I've been playing it and going back to the older games that I wasn't really old enough to understand at the time. And I find it to be a great series.
All right. Mo, do you want to go?
Sure, I'll touch on Smash Bros. A little bit too. My first game I played was Brawl, which was the one on the Wii. And I liked that game, but people nowadays don't like the game, and I can get why. I still have like some personal attachment to the game. I was really bad at it. I was also bad at the game Braden was talking about, Smash 4. And like how Max taught Braden to be good at the game, Braden and Max kind of taught me how to actually be good at the game in the most recent installments.
Yeah. Well, we were just been making our list in the chat, so I also put Smash Bros down as well.
I've scared everyone into making lists.
Well, yeah, I had a list in my mind, but people started putting them down, so I was just like, I'll just put down lists as well. And so if you ask me my favorite nostalgic Smash Bros. Title, definitely Brawl. I have a lot of good memories because I was, it was probably my first game ever. And absolutely Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, I think, is an amazing game. One of my favorites as well. And then I think it's also not just the fun that you get from playing your friends, like the party game fighter feel, but I think also the fact that it's multiplayer. Multiplayer is like a big thing that I look for in games. It doesn't necessarily make them like good, but just the fact that I'm able to play it with friends, can increase just increases the overall enjoyableness and playability of a game for me.
All right. I think it's time I'll touch up on a game that I've been in love with for a while now. So, a game that was developed by Team Cherry called Hollow Knight. I was I was addicted to this game for a while, and I played it for days straight.
He made me get it.
And it really, I made Brayden get it, and it reminds me a lot of Metroid in the exploration type way, and it's just a really fun game where you slowly progress and the more abilities you achieve and a lot different types of ways to play the game. And it's just a really good experience, and there's actually a sequel to it coming out this year, so I'm excited.
I never got the appeal of those games.
Yeah, well,
like boss rushes or like
Metroidvanias.
oh yeah, Metroidvanias.
I'm playing a game. I don't want to
lot
whack a wall. I don't want to whack a wall 30 times just to progress. Like, give me a point A, give me a point B, and I'm good.
Yeah.
I understand some people dislike those types of games, but in my opinion, I just really like the exploration base and how there's always more you can do in the game. There's definitely a lot I missed in first playthrough, and I could still go 113% the game because there's also downloadable content for it.
I'm like, I got lost a few hours in and I haven't played the game since. I didn't beat it.
I bought it back when I got Psychonauts.
Never played Hollow Knight, but I've seen people
I got bored and I uninstalled it.
I've
seen people
they're
play
cowards.
All right, and so then I'll put one of my favorite games. I'm gonna put some of my games. I'll probably name more than one game just because I feel like that I can put them in a category. And so, one of my all-time favorite games has to be Undertale.
I could make so many jokes about that right now, but I'm not going to.
You can, and I'm and I'm glad that you're not. But I think one of the things about Undertale for me, I think definitely is its story and its cast of characters. They mesh really well. It's just a game that you can get into for hours and hours and hours, and the music is fantastic. The soundtrack is one of the best I've ever heard in a video game. Very few games that I know have been able to top it. One thing I will say though is that it's lacking in gameplay. The gameplay is not my type of game at all. It's an RPG. It's a turn-based combat RPG mixed with like a bit of boss rush. I think boss. Yeah.
That's interesting, Charlie, because as someone who hates turn-based RPGs, I actually really liked Undertale's combat system.
No, I didn't think Undertale's combat system was too bad, but I don't feel like obviously the gameplay is not exactly my type of game that I like, and I always felt that it was kind of lacking when you compare it to other games, but I definitely felt that it's not mediocre, but it's decent gameplay was definitely made up for in story, characters, and world building and music. And then the second one, absolutely hands down, one of my favorite storytelling games of all time will have to be What Remains of Edith Finch. And basically the story of that game is you play as this girl named Edith Finch, and you visit a childhood home. It's this large, looming house on a coast, and you play through the game with this preset idea that your family is cursed, and that everyone in your family dies in strange or mysterious ways, or like, and as you play through the game, it's a lot of I can't speak. There's some platforming sections. There's it's a mix of a lot of gameplays, but the gameplay is not what you play What Remains of Edith Finch for. I think the story is one of the hands down my favorite video game story ever. It's really touching and really interesting to go walk through this large looming house and get a sense of how all these other Finches lived. It's got excellent world building. I love it so much. Yeah. And now I think it's back to
Anthony.
Yeah, back to Anthony.
I guess. So I'll break from the list a bit because I realized that I can just kill 2 birds with 1 stone, or rather, 2 walking battle tanks with 1 rocket launcher.
No.
Yep, it's time for me to talk about Metal Gear. So,
Bruv.
in case you guys couldn't tell from my profile picture juxtaposed to yours,
They don't
very
see
big fan
it.
of
They
the
don't
series.
see the profile picture. His profile
I'm talking
picture is,
group.
is the character. Is that Snake or Big Boss?
That's Naked Snake,
It's-
aka
it-
Big Boss.
Yeah, no,
It's
that's Big
confusing
Boss.
because they look the same. One of them's
Oh my
fired.
god, the story I can never. But his profile picture is a character from a video game series called Metal Gear, which is Big Boss. I'll put a picture up now.
Yes, so Metal Gear Solid, it's a great story, and it's a great game. And effectively, what you need to know going into it is that it seems like it's going to be typical military action espionage. It's not. Once you get to the second and third games, it goes into overdrive with the writing. I've heard Kojima called the George Lucas of video games. That Hideo Kojima is the main director and the kind of the mastermind behind the series. And like his highest highs are definitely worth some of the lower points. More specifically, my 2 favorite games at number 4 is MGS2. Actually, no, it's number 3. And then number 2 is Metal Gear Solid 3. So I'll talk about the third one. And it's a little different from the second one because back when it came out, a lot of people didn't like the second one because there was a big twist. And that was you couldn't play as the main character of the first game, which was kind of a fan favorite, Solid Snake. They put you as a new guy. So it's kind of an apology letter to fans. What Kojima did, he's like, all right, we're going to go back in time. We're going to look at this guy's dad that he was cloned from. I know it sounds out of left field, but trust me, if you play the games, it makes sense. So the third game is a lot of jungle sneaking. So got like a survival system, and I love it to bits. I could just talk for hours and hours and hours about why I love this game, but I'll keep it short. So I would highly recommend this if you're in for a lot of cutscenes, a lot of kind of campiness, and doesn't take itself too seriously, but it can get distracting occasionally.
Isn't the final cutscene like an hour long or something?
Something crazy like that. I know for the fourth one, the post-credit scene is a half hour.
No, I'm thinking of the fourth one, yeah. And isn't Metal Gear Solid 3 the one with the ladder that just lasts for hours? Or is that too? I haven't played any of the... I played one Metal Gear game.
The first one, it's like the ending of the game is the big villain goes in a rant for 12 minutes, then you fight him and get in a car chase. The second game...
But which one was the one with that long ladder? It was just purposely long. It takes like...
That's the third one.
It's the third one?
And the ladder is good game design, please. I'm not joking.
It's downtime. I can appreciate when games put in good downtime.
The third one is the one where you defeat the final boss, and there's a cutscene that's like 45 minutes, I think? Because there's like a big twist at the end that I'd rather not spoil, because if you know it going in, it's not nearly as impactful. But yeah, that's Metal Gear. It's a great game. Almost as good as my favorite game, but we'll get to that.
Alright,
Yeah, Mo can go.
who's next?
Let's go to
Alright,
Mo.
another one of my favorite games of all time is probably GTA 5. I had it on the PS4, and a lot of my friends don't have the PS4. A lot of my friends have Xbox, but I still found the game to be really fun online. Like playing GTA 5 online with all the heists and all the stuff you can do, just awesome. And moving away just from even online, the story mode I think is also really good. Again, the game is for mature audiences, so if you're a youngin', I wouldn't recommend playing it until you get older. But yeah, I think the game is just overall really fun. It's also really good, and it's also really funny. If you know Trevor from the game, he's hilarious. The whole game is just fantastic, and I think the world building is also really great. The town you play in, or not the town, the city of Los Santos is really well fleshed out. And yeah, I just think it's overall a great game. The combat, or it's a shooting game basically for most of the heists and levels, but the combat isn't the best, but I don't think it has to be the best for the game it's in. So, but either way, I think GTA 5 is a great game. It's one of my all-time favorites.
On the topic of GTA 5 and heists specifically, me and Charlie have been playing a lot of Payday 2 lately. It's a great game.
Isn't that the one where they have like hundreds of dollars worth of DLC?
No, it's
There's a lot,
yeah,
but I don't
kinda.
think
There's
hundreds
a
of
lot.
dollars.
you can buy like the special edition when it's on sale for like $40, and that's like 26 DLC packs for $40.
26 DLC packs? How long has this game been around?
2013, 7 years.
Wow, that's impressive. It's
not as big as it once was, but I mean, I didn't put Payday 2 up as one of my favorite games because, I mean, I enjoy it. I think it's really fun, but I don't think it's one of my favorite games.
Yeah, definitely not one of my favorites, but it's a great game.
It's an enemy rush sort of game. So like if you've ever played Call of Duty Zombies and Left 4 Dead, it's basically that except you kill police. It's a game where you rob banks and
criminal simulator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the topic of zombies, like you said, another one of my favorite games is The Last of Us. Have you guys played that game?
Nope.
No.
Want to?
Bro, these transitions today
are on point, you know?
Bro, that's clean. But anyway, what about The Last of Us?
So The Last of Us is a post-apocalyptic game where you play as Joel, who I really don't want to spoil. I know the game's been out for a long time, but a lot of the game's like essence comes with the story. But I'll just keep it simple and short.
Doesn't he lose it? He loses his daughter in the beginning, and then he
So
unites...
the opening scene.
I'm sorry. On you.
No problem. The opening scene is this guy Joel, who you play as for the whole game, and the opening scene is his daughter getting shot and dying, and like.
Fun.
Yeah, but 20 years later, the game picks up again in this post-apocalyptic world, and with these like zombie-like creatures, but are like way more like weird, and they like shoot spores out that can infect you.
What are they called? They're called
clickers.
Clickers.
Yeah, they're called clickers. And the game has you travel around with this girl named Ellie who is immune to the virus, and you're trying to take her from one point to another, and you like stumble across all these cool levels and areas and these new people. It's honestly a great game. The story is amazing. The world is like the apocalyptic world is just made so great. Sorry there. But yeah, the game is getting a sequel that's been getting a lot of hate, and I can't really go over what happens in the sequel, but it just ruins the first one plot-wise.
It got ruined because it was spoiled. Someone at the company who works at
a disgruntled employee.
A disgruntled employee, yes, that's what you'd call them. A disgruntled employee basically spoiled the entire story, and people read it and were like, I don't like this.
Yeah, and one of these people like canceled their pre-orders.
Yeah.
I didn't pre-order the game, but I was planning on getting it. But after hearing what's happening in the second game, I'm not getting it.
Jeez,
no way.
That sucks.
Damn.
For a game. That's why some companies like keep their secrets like laser tight, because they're like, we can't have people knowing how the game plays or major story points in the game.
Yeah,
because
like,
if people don't like it, they're not gonna buy it.
And especially for like The Last of Us, which relies so heavily on plot and the characters, just like a big punch to the face.
Yeah. Okay. So then, Max and then Brayden and then me. Max.
Oh, all right. So this is gonna be
one.
a bit controversial. This is gonna be because Anthony's here. All right.
What? Yeah, you better.
So
What was that?
So let me talk about Xenoblade.
Oh
right.
no.
Which one? You have to be specific.
You're gonna have to
Or you
get
can say
that
the
censor
series.
button
You
ready.
can say
I'm
the
saying
series.
it right
You can say the
now.
series.
I'm gonna talk about the first one because Brayden might talk about the second one. So basically, the first one, in my opinion, is one of my favorite games, and it's amazing. It's incredible. It's unfortunate that it was released for the Wii and DS because the character design is not the best, and the renders are just not as good as they could be. But other than that, the story is incredible. There's a ton of plot twists, He doesn't eat the sandwich because of.
He doesn't even eat
doesn't
it
even
in
eat
the
it in the
definitive. It hurts me that he doesn't eat the sandwich.
So
I
basically,
can't handle it.
towards the beginning of the game, his friend gives him a sandwich, and instead of eating, since renders are bad, it kind of just moves the sandwich towards his
He
mouth.
just rubs it across his face.
Yeah, and it does that again in.
You didn't
The
say the main character's
remake-
name, but he's talking about the main character, Shulk.
Yeah. And so basically, the game story-wise is incredible. The gameplay is really fun for me. And I just think that you should give it a try if you ever get the chance, especially with the new game or the remaster coming out.
What's the story behind it? Because I know the very, very broad strokes
Okay.
of it.
So I can't really state why, because that's kind of a spoiler, but so basically Shulk and his friend Ryan start traveling up towards the Bionis to Titans. The Bionis and the Mechonis, which basically act as continents, and those are the only things in the world. It's just an endless sea. Oh. So basically, it's just an endless sea. It's just one Titan, which is the Bionis, and the other, which
is the Mechonis,
and
yeah.
The Mechonis and the Bionis are fighting, and the Mechonis is just filled with robots. And the robots are attacking the people who live on the Bionis. And one robot specifically, Shulk and Ryan are trying to kill as revenge.
And so can Shulk see the future?
Yeah, so Shulk gets a sword called the Monado, and it allows him to see into the future, and it's the only sword that actually does damage to the Mechons, which are the
how
robots.
convenient.
How convenient, yes.
Because it's the same sword that was wielded by the Bionis.
But isn't the
Eons
Bionis
ago.
Isn't the Bionis huge in the Monado?
Yeah, but this is like the weaker part.
No,
This
it's his
is like
toothpick.
not even close to the power of the Bionises.
He's got the
Monado.
sword, he's
Anyway,
got the toothpick.
Anyway, so they travel up, and a lot of stuff happens that I can't really talk about. But the story gets really interesting, and you end up going to the Mechonis, and then you have to fight. I can't say that. They have to beat each other up and beat the Mechons. And there's a lot of plot twists. And the game is really, it's really good. You should try it.
All right, and then
The end.
Brayden, what about you? What's another favorite game of yours?
Me?
Yes, you.
I haven't beat it yet, but I'm working on that currently. Persona 5. I love the soundtrack in that game specifically. So good sound, like amazing soundtrack. Even though the gameplay is not like my favorite, I don't really like turn-based RPGs. I like how you can set your characters to doing what you want them to do instead of doing it yourself. Kind of makes the battle go by faster. But
Well, like Earthbound.
honestly, I also do like going through the palace is very interesting. I like sneaking around and being able to ambush the enemies yourself instead of like having them like running into them. Say like Pokemon, you just run into them to see them. In Persona, you just kind of like sneak around and instead of just walking into them, you ambush them from behind just to.
So what's the story
I'm at a loss
of Persona
but the
5?
story, Joker is not Joker. I guess main character. I'll go by Joker, but that's his name in the metaverse. He's put into. I don't know exactly why. I don't remember why, but he's in a new home with some older
After
dude.
an unfortunate incident.
After an unfortunate incident, according to Smash Brothers, he's. I feel like Max would help me explain this because he made me get this game as well, and it was really good. But
Max, do you want to help him? Your boy's struggling
please
out
tell
here.
me. I'm at a loss of words.
So
What's the
basically-
story?
Joker is walking down the street, and there's this molester who is trying to sexually assault this woman, and Joker helps the woman and hits the guy, and the guy's actually like a super famous businessman, and he calls the cops and sues Joker, and then he gets expelled from school, and he has to move in with this one person at a cafe, and that's pretty much how it starts. And Brain, continue. Now that I've given
I'll try. So he's going. Do you want me to continue towards like the first palace? Because I'm not too much.
Sure. Yeah. Start there.
Into the backstory. So going into the first palace, you're introduced to a cat in the palace. I forget. It's not. I don't forget how. He has an app on his phone, and it brings him into this place called the Metaverse. And when he was kind of transported there randomly on his way to school, and where his school was then a castle, and caught by some guards, and you had to escape the castle. From the castle was a palace, and palaces are basically like how do I explain
Mind fortresses.
Yeah, it's like someone's distorted desires put into like a big fortress.
So a Psychonauts level?
Yes, actually, yes, like a Psychonauts level. That's exactly
Glad
what
to
it
see
is.
Persona 5 is ripping off of innocent indie devs.
Yeah, but basically, I don't want to spoil. I don't know if I talk about the first palace, would that be spoilers? Because I don't want to go in depth about the whole game.
Yeah.
But basically, in the story, you just go through a bunch of different palaces, and you're basically stopping strangers' distorted desires and going to fix the world from bad people.
I guess I'm gonna talk about some. I guess I'd call it a puzzle game. I'll talk about two games here again. Another two of my favorite games would have to be Portal 2 and Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga.
Whoa.
I know. I guess I'll back up the Lego Star Wars one first because it's easier to back up the Portal 2 claim, but it definitely does it holds some sort of nostalgic it has this nostalgic value to me, so that's one of the reasons why it's one of my favorite games. But I also think obviously Star Wars is, or at least Star Wars is a very beloved universe by a lot of people. Even despite some recent movies maybe not being as good as the original trilogy.
That's not the long and short of it.
But I still think it's a very great franchise, so that's one of the things. And also Legos. Almost every kid has them. So it's obviously made for a younger audience, but I think it's still a pretty fun game. They're actually making a new one with all the 9 movies. It's supposed to come out this year. I don't know anymore because of the Ligma pandemic going around, but
yeah, that's really messed up the film industry.
No, the gaming industry. I don't know, but it's just it's a puzzle platforming. It's sort of a collectathon. It's just a fun little time waster. And I played it a lot as a kid. I 100%ed it on 3 separate systems, and I did one recently with my one of my friends, Sean. And I mean, it's still fun. It still holds this sort of value to me. It's fun to play through all the levels. And then so Portal 2, it's not. So Lego Star Wars isn't really that much of a puzzle game, but I don't want to keep this up forever because I've got a lot of games. But Portal 2 is absolutely one of my favorite games of all time. Definitely think it was better than the original because it just expanded so much on the in-game universe. But so it's a puzzle game where you experiment with portals. It's pretty obvious. So you place one portal on one side of the room, another portal on another side of the room, and when you go through one portal, you come out the other end. That's the basic premise of the gameplay, but you're stuck in this facility, this underground facility called run by this company called Aperture Science, and you are awakened from this stasis that you've been in for like Lord knows how long. Like, isn't it
It's
like
been so long that the counter just breaks.
Yeah, it's like 10 to 20,000 years you've been in sleep. But
Very
so
funny game.
you meet this little guy. His name is Wheatley. He's got a very charming accent, and you're basically trying to escape the facility. And so, in your journey to escape the facility, you move past your previous you walk past the antagonist of the first game, whose name is GLaDOS, who you killed and shut off, and that's why basically when you play the game, you'll see that the entire facility is in disarray, but you walk past GLaDOS and you accidentally wake up GLaDOS, and so then that's the very start of it. I'm not going to get into too much, but I think the gameplay is actually, it's one of the most creative ideas for a gameplay that I've ever seen. It's got an amazing soundtrack, and the characters, it's got this nice blend of comedy and just I don't know the right word. It's got very good character building. The voice acting's phenomenal. The world building is too. It's just overall a really awesome game, and I urge you all to check it out. More than Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga, but I like both of those. So
You know the game's good when it's rated better than the Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga, man. you know how hard that thing is to top?
All right.
I don't understand why you're laughing. I'm being serious here. Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga is a seminal work, okay?
It is really good. It's really good.
I need an excuse to play it because my Wii broke and now I can't.
Just
I used to play it on the Wii.
emulate it legally.
Get it on Steam.
How much is it on Steam? I might.
It's free when you emulate it, so you should do it that way.
Me and
I
Sean
don't have
played
a
it.
Wii mode though.
Me
If I
and
did
Sean
on
played it
Dolphin-
through. Me and Sean played
know.
it through Game Share, so we could do Game Share with you and me.
Oh yeah, we could.
But so yeah. And then we'll go through the works again. D-Dude.
All
Back
right.
to you. Throwing it back. Today's
So I
gonna be the
talked
day
about-
that they're gonna throw it back to you.
Oh. See, at the place that I work, Wonderwall is very constantly played, so I kind of have PTSD on top of the fact that it's Wonderwall.
But you mean Wonderwall?
Well, whatever it is, I need you to give me a sec while my hand stops shaking from hearing those lyrics again. All right, I'm better. So I talked about like 3 and 2. My number 4 was actually Portal 2, so it's kind of redundant. I guess I'll just go straight to number 1, which is do we have drum roll sound effect here?
Oh
Yeah.
wait, no, I have a drum roll. No, wait, I have a drum roll. I have to find it. Hold on.
Do it.
I swear I have a drum roll. Do I not have a drum roll? Did I not get a
Real
No!
professional production here.
I didn't get a drum roll. I have the
There's your drum roll.
Let's just get to the
I
anticlimactic
have that.
number
I have
one.
that. Okay, hold on.
Alright. And the number one is...
Baldi's Basics.
Okay,
No, I knew you were gonna do that.
This is where I leave.
No, Mo.
7.5 Arms podcast. Thank you for having me on. No, I'm kidding. It's actually it's a little game. It's kind of underground. It's called Minecraft.
Yeah, okay. I've got
doesn't know
this one
Minecraft?
too,
What?
so you've given me time to discuss this
I
as
don't
well.
think
Go
that
ahead.
deserved a drum roll. That seems like a very generic answer.
Well, it's you know what? You're
Okay,
generic.
Mo.
All right.
You're generic, Mo. Yeah, no, quiet.
Mo, I haven't
Let the
talked
man
about
speak.
Pokemon yet.
Okay.
Listen, Minecraft isn't the most well designed or built. Its creator isn't exactly the most upstanding guy. The music, well, I can't say anything bad about the music. That stuff is
Music is
great.
amazing.
It hasn't aged that well. updates haven't been up to par.
I would
compared to how
disagree
big
about it
is.
aging not well. I think it's aged very well, actually.
Well, there's a lot of flaws, but listen, when I play this game, I get a feeling no other game gives me. It's like I have endless possibilities, and I can do whatever I want. I just sit down, I say, oh, I think
Imagine
I'll
a
work on
world
my house tomorrow.
made
I wake
entirely
up.
out of blocks, where you
Yes,
can do anything
exactly.
you want to do.
I sit down, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna finish up building my house in just a shell. And I look at the clock, and 5 hours have passed, and it's just such a great feeling. I don't know how to describe it.
I mean, yeah, I don't think Minecraft needs any introduction. You don't need to explain it, but it's an amazing sandbox game.
It's kind of a normie pick.
You could get lost in it for hours because there's so much you can do. You can play creative mode and build whatever you want, and there's no limitations. You could play survival and see, like, you could reach the height of being OP. You can.
I always preferred survival mode.
You can play on multiplayer servers. Multiplayer survival is fun. Multiplayer mini games are also pretty fun. I think I've put most of my time in Minecraft into multiplayer mini game servers, but I've definitely put my time into survival. But I think most of my time played has definitely been.
Do you remember that server we had on Bedrock? Not a server, just that world we had on Bedrock that we finally beat the Ender Dragon in. We gotta revisit that world. That world was great.
Oh
with
my
like your big mountain house.
The mountain house, yeah.
It was so well built. I
funny
remember coming in that out of nowhere, and it was so well built.
because I actually haven't beat the Ender Dragon yet.
Ever?
Well, you gotta do it.
I've been playing this game for 10 years, or something crazy like that. I still haven't done. Anytime I've gotten close, I've either died or something's glitched out. And
I've never gotten a solo win on the Ender Dragon.
I finally started a world a couple weeks back, and I'm like, this is it. I'm gonna do it. And because I was so confident in myself, I named it similar to what I did the past 2 worlds, which is to the end, but actually for real. So, that's how you know it's gonna happen. And I don't know, man. It's just I think it's gonna be kind of emotional because the credits music, it's my favorite song ever. On top of the fact that I really like the end poem, on top of the fact that this is like kind of a specter that it's been.
You should join our realm, the Minecraft.
I didn't realize you had one.
But it's a great survival world.
Yeah.
But of course, after Minecraft is just faded away, we're done playing it. We do a bunch of different things with it. There's a big creative world.
Yeah, Mr. Mountain.
Mr. Mountain's very cool.
It's creative.
We're talking about a lot of things that they have no idea what we're talking about, but
Yes.
Okay, so now Mo, I think I have an idea of what he's gonna talk about.
All right, so this is a franchise that I hate and really like at the same time.
Oh,
Is it Baldur's Gate 6?
No, please stop. But 2 of my favorite sports to play and to watch are football and basketball. So I, of course, love the NBA 2K and the Madden franchises. And what I mean by that I hate them and love them at the same time is, as like sports games in general, like they're fine. Like gameplay is fine, but the thing is, like Madden and 2K now, they rely way too much on like for example, in 2K, you're meant to buy like a bunch of virtual currency and you're supposed to put a lot of in-game money into the game. Same thing with Madden, which focuses on Ultimate Team, which causes you, again, to put a lot of money into the game to buy like cards. And when I personally play these games, I'm more fond of being like a general manager and like building up my own teams from the ground up. I remember, I think it was Madden 17 or 18. One of my favorite things to do is rebuild my Denver Broncos, my favorite football team. And I always find that really fun and, like playing in some of the games. And now the gameplay isn't as good in the most recent games and they're putting way too much into the online features. But I would rather have just the single player be better. But again, I still love Madden and 2K. I love the older games way more than the newer games. But again, I still love the franchises.
Okay, Max, you got any more games you want to say, or did we run you dry. I'm gonna assume we ran him dry. We ran him dry. Oh no.
I think he's done. I don't.
Steam library right
He's
now.
used all 10% of his brain power. He can't think of any more games he likes. Unless, of course, we might be having Wi-Fi problems, folks. In that case, you might not see Max for the rest of the pod.
Bro, my head.
Oh, no. He's back.
Now you're speaking.
I have mashed potato skull right now. I have no idea what's going on.
What's another? Have you said your favorite games now? Because you've done Smash Bros, Hollow Knight, and Xenoblade. So.
Yes, I have no idea what anything else that hasn't been brought up already.
What about any Mario Odyssey? Did you like that one?
Did I like what one? The
Mario
sequel?
Odyssey. No, Mario.
Oh,
Okay, so
Okay.
as good as Sonic 06's story, like Sonic 06's story is great, but the fact that it's all just killed at the end of the game makes me really mad. But it's also what I like about the game is
Oh my
the
god.
gameplay's so bad that it's good. Like I love that you can just walk up random slopes just for no reason. Like you're standing completely vertical on a wall.
I was waiting for Max
it's the
to say
best
something
thing.
about Mario Odyssey. I was expecting Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild to come into these because those are both fantastic games.
Breath of the Wild is also a great game, and
I'd
I'm happy Max introduced me to it.
I put them in my top 20, but I
oh,
I don't want to say
20s.
too much in case Max wants to say Mario Odyssey and Breath of the Wild.
I do not.
You
No,
don't
man,
want to say
Galaxy
anything about
Mario
but you,
Odyssey was I.
There was a lot of cool tech with Cappy, though. I do like
Max.
that.
See, Max gets it. I think Mario Odyssey is way too overrated.
I agree. Who said?
I feel like it
who
was
said
way
Odyssey's
too short.
overrated? Please.
I said it. It is overrated.
all of them.
100% agree.
I beat it in a day.
I think the hype's acceptable. I think the hype is acceptable.
I would genuinely
I
say
was not disappointed. I was not disappointed with Mario Odyssey when I played it. I was not disappointed with everyone what it was hyped up to be. I was definitely not disappointed in the gameplay.
I was
liked it a
definitely
lot.
disappointed.
But-
I
by the
started yelling and screaming when they didn't have Gusty Garden Galaxy. The
It
cool
is
music.
not. It is
do have
not
5
my
seconds.
favorite Mario. Not my favorite 3D Mario game or Mario game. My favorite Mario game of all
Bruh,
time.
New Super Mario Bros.
Mario Galaxy has to be probably one of my favorite all-time games. It's this
Nah, man, Galaxy 2. All
No,
the way.
I prefer one. I prefer
I
one.
prefer
this
one,
mix
too.
of nostalgia and
I just think. The
oh my
game's
god, the
just
sound
better.
the soundtrack is incredible.
Yeah.
It's obviously it's a Mario game. It's a platformer. And the entire gimmick is that you're in space. You're in space, and how any Mario game goes, you're Mario. You gotta rescue Princess Peach. It's pretty. It's self-explanatory. It's a Mario game, but I think where most of Galaxy's creativity comes from is definitely in the game design itself, because you're in space. It messes with the sort of gravity on small planets, and there's I'm trying to think of the right words. It doesn't control as good as I would like it to control, but I definitely think that it's passable, and I'm still trying to think of more words to say. But I think it's an amazing game that y'all should check out. And does anyone else have any favorite games? Because I've got three left to name. So does anyone else have? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go over them quick.
Yeah, I know. I will go over them. So no one else has any.
Ray, did you have anything else to say about 06?
The introduction to Silver, it was a bad introduction for him, I'll be honest, but he's a great character. Though he's kind of dumb.
Just like a
People
dragon.
are probably gonna be so confused. People are
The
probably gonna be so
Iblis
confused.
Trigger!
All right. Okay.
You are the Iblis Trigger!
Okay.
Okay.
I'm done.
I'll. So I've got 3 games left to name, so I'll name them all. Skyrim, it's an amazing RPG storytelling game from Elder Scrolls made by Bethesda. obviously Bethesda has not had the best of raps in recent years. This is when Bethesda hype was, I think, at its peak, and when everybody was praising it. I think it's just a really fun game to play. You could get lost in it. It just produces hours and hours and hours of gameplay to just mess around. It's a great RPG MMO. No, not MMO. What am I saying? RPG. Man, I can't think of the other word. It's just really fun. Another favorite game of mine is Team Fortress 2. Definitely one of my favorite games. It's for those of you that don't know what it is. It's this very cartoony first-person shooter. It's been going on for more. It's been going on for 13 years. 13 years old, and it's still I would say it's a timeless classic. It's really fun to play. Most of that silliness comes with the game doesn't take itself too seriously, but the music's good. I think the gameplay is fantastic. It's not as balanced as I'd like it to be with an online game, but I think it keeps balance pretty well. If you don't know what TF2 is, it's a lot like Overwatch. Just think of Overwatch, but just not Overwatch and original.
Overwatch is an original?
No. But
this is the first I've heard about it.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy, right? But yeah, no, absolutely. TF2 is an amazing game, and I love the characters. The characters just make it all the more funnier. And then I think the last one would have to be Cuphead. Cuphead is a boss rush game. I'm trying to think of a game that a lot of people would know. That Flappy Bird.
Don't uninstall Flappy Bird. You can't get it back.
No, XX Tentacion. But
okay.
That's a tweet from him.
XX Tentacles.
That's a tweet from him. But anyway, Cuphead is a boss rush game, boss rush shoot 'em up game in the style of 1930s cartoons. It's got one of the most amazing soundtracks ever. Each song is a bop. Like, seriously, you can find me jamming out to the Cuphead soundtrack any day. The style is amazing. The gameplay, I mean, it's supposed to make you mad. It's not an easy game to play at all, so it's obviously not for for people who like a more casual gaming session. But I think Cuphead's style and its design and its music, I think, are really phenomenal, and I urge people to at least check it out. And I think that is it for the games that we have, unless anybody wants to put some final thoughts.
That's all from me.
Yeah, we can
More
always talk about
gamers.
this again in the future. Who knows?
Yeah, all right. Well, huge thanks to Anthony for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate your time, man.
I'll have to come on again some other time. Make this 9.5 arms.
Whoa.
Well, okay.
9.5? Whoa.
Whoa.
That's too many arms.
That's too many
that is
arms.
too many
That's
arms.
more than an
Well, we
octopus.
Right.
When we made this
Eight
podcast,
arms.
when we made
Right.
this channel, we were specifically like, okay, we need to have at least less arms than an octopus. Okay, any more than that, and we're done for.
It's over. It's
We're
actually
done
can't
for.
make room. Like, we'll draw straws once the quarantine's over. We'll make it work. All right.
All right.
Okay. Well, that's an after production thing.
Well,
All
we
right.
can't make it a podcast. Just recording ourselves making room.
All right,
All
guys.
right.
So
Thank you to
either way,
DD
that's
for.
it.
Sorry, I said his username. Thank you for Anthony for coming out and taking time to talk with us and discuss gaming. You know, because we're all gamers here. You know that.
There's the line.
Uh-huh.
Be sure to like,
we're all
comment, and
gamers,
subscribe. Give us
We're
feedback
gonna-
in the comments. We're
We're gonna
happy
put
to be
more
back.
Content in the future.
definitely gonna be more
Yes.
content in the future. I can't make any promises that there won't be hiatuses, but we're glad that you stuck it out with us. And as always, wash your hands.
Also, keep on the lookout for some game videos with us. It's going to be interesting.
It's been Mo from the closet. It's been